If you spend enough time on Watch YouTube, you start hearing the same stuff on repeat. It's the same brands, the same buzzwords, and really even the same thumbnail faces. So I wanted to ask a different kind of question. What's the one thing you wish more Watch YouTubers would talk about? And honestly, the comments didn't hold back. So let's start it off with the first comment, which comes from Loro Solero. They kicked off things with something really practical, but also a little painful. And they said how to try and not get screwed when you're buying secondhand watches. And not talking about high-end luxury ones, of course. And honestly, that's a great one. Because when you're buying pre-owned, especially if you haven't done it before, it can definitely feel like a minefield. You're worried about whether it's a fake listing, red flags, or dodgy movements. And honestly, it's not for the faint of heart. Now, if you guys would like, I can go into a full deep dive about this topic. But the thing that I would basically say is you always want to try to buy the seller. So whether you're buying on eBay or you're buying it on Reddit, try to see if this person has a lot of reviews. If they have reviews, what is their rating? On eBay, I don't really go below 98% because every now and then there's the one-off case, but generally speaking, and I'm looking for hopefully tens, if not 50 different reviews. On Reddit, it's the same thing. I typically will buy my watches off Watch Exchange. This isn't an endorsement for Watch Exchange, unless they endorse people, and then I'm game. But same thing, you wanna look at that viewer history, see their transaction history, and then take a look to see if they're selling other watches. But that's what I would think when trying to buy a used. Now, Laura also had a second comment, and they also said that they're afraid of scams and that they really rarely buy secondhand. But they did take a plunge on that old Swiss watch that they bought on eBay for 30 bucks. So I really hope that, you were able to get a watch that was worthy, and if not, leave the comments down below of how other people can avoid buying some used watches. Now, we're gonna transition though, from the fear of buying wrong to actually the joy of finding value. So this next comment comes from Mark Cross, or Mark Cross, I think it's Mark Cross, 52.95. And they said affordable watches, the type that are 500 USD and under. And yes, well, if you're on this channel, you already know that's really the sweet spot that I'm looking for. And honestly, I'm looking for $300 and below with a few exceptions. See, because I think that's where the magic happens. That's where you can get some great design, some wearable stories, and some character without pretension. And I think a lot of us, especially on this channel, we really love watches below that price point. And whether that be Seiko, Citizen, Timex, or other micro brands, that's really the spot where I really love my watch collecting journey. The next comment comes from CCTJ Jason, and he just said one word, Quartz. And I think he's right. Quartz really deserves a lot more love. It's reliable, low maintenance, and it's really democratized precision. I personally love it. And he also added that for him, modern quartz just makes more sense. It's practical, it's durable, and it does exactly what it needs. And I really think that's the beauty of it. No snobbery, just purpose. And quartz definitely deserves more respect. And I'm not just talking about the oyster quartz from Rolex. I'm talking about the Digis, the analogs, the Timex expeditions. And that's why on this channel, if you check out some of the reviews after, you'll check out a lot more quartz watches. But then we also had a few comments that went deeper. You see, they went into philosophy and the people behind the metal. So one of the comments from another incredible YouTuber is Watching James. And he said, I recently discussed watches and collecting with a Zen Buddhist priest, talking about attachment and desire toward our watches. That's beautiful. You see, most channels focus on the next buy, but what about the why behind the buy? See, maybe letting go of the desire is the ultimate collector's discipline, or that's what I imagine that Zen Buddhist would have said. But I think that is important. More stories than specs, more talking about the meaning behind it. I think that's really where the value is, and where I hope that there's going to be more collectors and YouTubers talking about in the future. Now, the next comment comes from a dear friend, Riley Williams 4733. I am curious about that number set, but his comment was the difference between watches at various price points besides the brand name. Now, that is a very interesting conversation because what we're really talking about is value. You see, we say value in a lot of videos or you see it on a lot of posts, but we rarely unpack it. What does it actually mean? Is it the finish? Is it the movement? Is it repairability? Or is it just the story behind it? That is something that I try to highlight, particularly in the sentiment portion of my reviews, but it is something that could really make this watch collecting space more if we really talked about the value behind it. Next up, we have a comment from Ma'am Watches. Ma'am? Mom? Can be mom with an A. No? Okay. And he raised an important question. What kinds of movements can be repaired locally and what needs to be sent out? It seems like in-house gets shipped and Eddas or Miyotas can be fixed locally, but is that really the case? That's really a great point, and I think it is an interesting part about collecting that we don't always talk about, whether that be the servicing or the maintenance. From my understanding, you kind of hit it on the head. Things like Eddas and Miyotas are kind of like cars that are very common. So I think about it in my American perspective. If you have a Ford, you have a Chevy, you have a GMC, you can really take it to any kind of mechanic because those parts are very understood, generally speaking. But if you have something a little bit more precise, whether that be a European car or you start getting into a high-end luxury like a Ferrari or something, you typically have to go to a dealer or someone who specializes in those type of vehicles because those parts aren't as abundant. And the same thing will be vice versa for our European partners who are spending euros out there. I imagine fixing something like a BMW is probably a little bit easier to get fixed in Germany versus if you had an American sports car like a Mustang, you'd have to go to those specialists. That's just my way of thinking about it, but I could be wrong. I'm not really the smartest when it comes to that aspect, but you gotta let me know. And man actually shared a little bit more, and he was talking about dealing with his dad's watch in a warranty repair on an SW300 movement, and he had shipped it out. I'm interested to know how that whole process worked out because even in a major city, it can still be a process or a hassle to try to get something fixed. And also kind of shows a blind spot because we obsess about a watch, but we very rarely talk about where it can be fixed. Now let's bring into the next comment. Ricky Bobby Big Driver 555. Ricky Bobby, that's a great name. Okay. And his comment talks about speak to people who fix, restore, and make custom watches. It should be about the people, then the watches. That's it. That's the heartbreak of this whole thing. It's not just about gears and cases. It's about hands and patience and the story. That's actually what the channel name is about, Wrist Unwound. It's about unwounding the stories behind the watch, not just what's on the wrist. He even mentioned the Restoration Watches channel, which actually I've watched many times, very soothing. And it's one of the few showing the process in real time, mistakes and all. He also shared that he tinkered himself, even tried fixing an old Swiss Army watch that's been with him for over 20 years. Now that's love, and that's what collecting is all about. And so maybe, sir, I'll have you on the channel. Let's talk about your journey. Let's talk about fixing the watches. And let's bring that story out that others want to hear. Speaking of, have you checked out wristunwound.com? And did you know that you can submit your watch story to that channel and be shared on the channel? So please check out the website, read some of the other interviews that are on there, and let me know about your own collecting journey, and let's see if we can feature it on the channel. But next up, let's talk about Canabib22? Canab? They basically summed up what ties us all together, budget watches. And he's got a whole sub-collection of cheap Casios, G-Shocks, Camden watches, and even some creative brands like Mr. Jones. And I really think that's proof that collecting isn't about cost, it's about curiosity. I have well over 170 watches and 99% of them are under the $200 range. You can have an incredible collection for an affordable price, and that's really what's awesome. And so, what is my point? You know, as a watch YouTuber who gets to make videos, what is it that I would like to talk more about or wish that other collectors would talk about? There's a few things. For one, I really love the history. Not just the history of watches, but the history of time itself. I have videos about the history of time zones, why there's 60 seconds in a minute, why we have 12 months in a year. All these things are super interesting to me. And they don't perform very well for the YouTube algorithm, but I enjoy making them because maybe there's someone else out there who enjoys it as well. The other thing that I really love about watch collecting that I wish more YouTubers would talk about is, why do they collect watches to start with? They'll talk about a specific watch and what makes that watch important, but I want to know about the person. You know, what makes the urban gentry the urban gentry? Why did Teddy decide to start making videos in his Ohio home? All of these things are super interesting to me because I'm very interested in the people, and I wish more collectors would do that. Those are the two things that I'm very interested in. What was not mentioned? Let me know in the comments down below. Are you more interested in some stories or some more interested in the specs? But either way, every watch has a story and every person too, and I thank you for spending this one with me. God bless, and I hope to see you in another video. See you next time. Peace.